Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
You want to know what's really happening with the Blue Jays right now? Forget everything you've heard because the situation in Toronto has reached a breaking point. The front office isn't just exploring options anymore. They're actively dismantling and rebuilding their entire approach to contention. Every conversation, every phone call, every late night meeting is focused on one simple reality. Last season's collapse exposed weaknesses that can't be ignored any longer. Four names keep surfacing in trade discussions, and each one represents a completely different philosophy about how to fix this roster. These aren't minor tweaks we're talking about. These are franchise-altering decisions that will determine whether Toronto spends the next 5 years competing for championships or rebuilding from scratch. The farm system that management has protected for years, it's suddenly on the table. Prospects who were considered untouchable 6 months ago, their names are being whispered in trade talks across the league. Let's talk about Ketel Marte first because Arizona's star has been criminally underrated for years. Since 2019, he's launched 168 home runs while maintaining production that most teams would mortgage their future to acquire. Last season alone showed exactly what he brings: 28 homers, elite on-base skills, and the kind of consistency that contending teams desperately need. The contract makes it even more attractive, 6 years at roughly $100 million in an era where average players are commanding twice that amount. Here's why Toronto is seriously considering this move. If Bo Bichette ends up walking in free agency, and that possibility grows more realistic every day, the entire infield configuration needs rethinking. Marte's versatility becomes invaluable in that scenario. He can slide between second base and center field seamlessly, giving the manager flexibility that's worth its weight in gold during the grind of a 162-game season. His switch-hitting ability balances the lineup, and his postseason experience brings something this young roster desperately lacks. Arizona won't make this easy, though. They'll demand multiple top prospects, major league-ready talent, and probably a few extra pieces just to continue discussions. The injury history exists, and it's real, but sometimes you have to accept calculated risks to acquire genuine difference makers. Now let's shift to Joe Ryan, because this addresses Toronto's most glaring vulnerability. The starting rotation has been inconsistent for too long, and even with some promising young arms developing, there's no legitimate ace to anchor everything. Ryan just completed a breakout campaign that should have every contender flooding Minnesota's phone lines. His 3.42 ERA doesn't tell the full story. His strikeout rate, exceeding 10 per 9 innings, and his elite command separate him from typical mid-rotation arms. The fastball sweeper combination he perfected last season became virtually unhittable, generating swing and miss rates that pitching coaches dream about. Minnesota's rebuilding timeline makes Ryan their most valuable trade asset right now. The Twins know his value is at its absolute peak, and they're willing to listen to offers that reflect that reality. Toronto has successfully negotiated with Minnesota before, so there's an established relationship that could facilitate a complex deal. But don't mistake familiarity for favoritism. The Twins will ask for an overwhelming package: top prospects, controllable major leaguers, and depth pieces that would significantly deplete Toronto's farm system. The question management must answer is straightforward. Do you sacrifice future potential for present certainty? For a team that believes its championship window is open right now, the trade-off might be justified. Then there's Eduardo Cabrera, and this one carries significant complications. Miami's young right-hander possesses the kind of electric stuff that makes scouts salivate. His curveball alone posted whiff rates that seem almost unfair, and when he's healthy and dialed in, he looks like a future frontline starter. The problem lurking beneath that potential is availability. Multiple injured list stints, shortened seasons, and an inability to string together consistent healthy stretches create legitimate concerns. He's only reached 26 starts once in his career, and for a team trying to compete over a marathon season, durability matters just as much as raw ability. The financial aspect makes Cabrera intriguing despite the risks. He's entering his second arbitration year with multiple seasons of team control remaining, and his salary projections are remarkably manageable compared to what similar arms command. If Toronto's medical staff believes they've identified something in his mechanics or training that Miami couldn't address, if they're confident they can keep him healthy where others failed, then maybe this becomes the high upside gamble that pays enormous dividends. But Blue Jays fans remember previous acquisitions derailed by injuries. They've experienced that sinking feeling when another IL announcement arrives during a crucial playoff race. Cabrera represents equal parts hope and anxiety. And then there's Hunter Greene, the name that makes this entire discussion explosive. Cincinnati's flamethrower isn't just good, he's potentially generational. A fastball averaging 99 miles per hour with movement that devastates opposing lineups, complemented by a slider that batters simply cannot touch. Over his last 2 seasons, he struck out over 300 batters while maintaining an ERA under 3 and looking every bit like the ace everyone projected. This is the type of pitcher who alters playoff series dynamics, who gives your team a decisive advantage multiple times through the postseason rotation, who forces opposing managers into desperate lineup adjustments. Cincinnati's president has publicly stated that Greene isn't available, but everyone in baseball knows that's negotiating posture. Everything has a price, and for an offer massive enough, even the Reds would have to consider it seriously. We're talking about Orelvis Martinez, multiple top 100 prospects, and probably additional pieces just to begin substantive conversations. Greene's contract makes this even more appealing. 3 years at $41 million with team options that could extend control further. For this caliber of talent at this price point, teams would normally create bidding wars. The injury history exists with some time lost to various ailments, but nothing that fundamentally compromises what he's capable of delivering when healthy. Acquiring Greene would be the statement move that announces Toronto is willing to sacrifice future assets for present championship aspirations. So here's where we stand. 4 completely different approaches to addressing the same fundamental question. How does Toronto transform from playoff contender to legitimate championship threat? Ketel Marte provides immediate offensive impact and defensive versatility. Joe Ryan offers rotation stability and consistent performance. Eduardo Cabrera dangles tantalizing upside alongside considerable injury risk. Hunter Greene represents the ultimate aggressive move that could define the franchise's trajectory for years. The front office can't realistically pursue all 4, and there's a genuine possibility they land none of them. But the fact these discussions are happening at all reveals how seriously management is responding to last season's disappointment. This isn't about minor roster adjustments anymore. This is about fundamental transformation, about examining a core that came close and honestly assessing what it takes to finish the job. Every potential move requires painful sacrifice. Each one demands trading prospects that fans have watched develop, young players who represent organizational depth and future flexibility. But there comes a moment when you must decide between building for someday and competing for right now. Championship windows don't remain open indefinitely. Core players are in their prime years. The fan base isn't satisfied with playoff appearances anymore. They want parade routes planned and October memories that last lifetimes. Whatever unfolds this winter will shape Toronto's narrative for the next decade. Make the wrong choice, and the franchise could find itself trapped in mediocrity, having traded away tomorrow for a today that never materialized. Make the right choice, and suddenly you're looking at a roster capable of matching up against anyone in baseball. The pressure is enormous, the expectations are stratospheric, and the margin for error is non-existent, but that's precisely what makes this moment so compelling. This is when championships are constructed or dreams get postponed indefinitely. This is when aggressive general managers separate themselves from conservative ones. The decisions are coming whether anyone's ready or not. And